Welcome to a Ghostly Encounter Live, aka Ghost Stories with the Guides. This is what, number 7, 8, something like that. All right, well, hello. I am Renee. I am a ghost tour guide for a ghostly encounter, and this is Dusti, who is also a tour guide for AGE, and we're going to be talking about our ghoulish stories again tonight, as always, like we always do every Tuesday and Friday at 8 p.m. So tonight we're going to be talking about the Mothman, the strange death of Elisa Lam, and the Kuna Street Ghost Girl is our local story. And we have a special guest to talk about that later. It'll be fun. If you missed the last episode, we talked about evil twins, double gangsters, or that's what that's what Facebook said we talked about. Facebook does like the automated captions, and instead of saying doppelgangers, it thought we said double gangsters, but evil twin doppelgangers is what we did. Lizzie Borden and the Spanish military hospital. Facebook hopefully doesn't mess up our captions at this time, but they will. It's much more fun. Hey, a good drinking game is to watch us talk, and then every time Facebook's captions is wrong, you have to take a shot.
Oh, listen, I don't know if we can. We've talked about Elizabeth bathroom, double gangsters.
John Moore's sleeves fell off. Yeah. You can find that video or all of our videos on our Facebook page. We do new streams, as I had already said, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Addison. Hi, Gabby. Hi, Grandma. Y'all are all watching, I know. Now, before we get into it, we're going to go over our haunted happenings, as we usually do. These are sent in from you guys, and I'll tell you what, y'all delivered last time, because I got a lot of haunted happenings that I need to sift through. I'm talking like over 50. So these are what I have for tonight, and if you have any experiences, any paranormal experiences, you've ever seen a ghost, anything like that, just send it to us through a message, all right? So our first haunted happening for tonight is from Gabrielle R. And Gabrielle said, when I was a kid, I lived with my oldest sister, whose husband died in a tragic motorcycle accident, not even half a mile down the road from the house. He was a trickster, and his favorite thing to do was to wait until someone was sleeping and then sneak at the end of the bed and grab your foot like he was a monster and then scare the bejesus out of you. Okay. Well, shortly after his funeral, weird stuff started happening around the house, like pictures being knocked off the walls or drawers being opened. One night, I was sleeping in the back room, and I thought our dog Snowy jumped on the foot of the bed just to come and cuddle with me. I did feel something jump on the bed, but after a couple of minutes, Snowy never came up to the head of the bed, so I sat up to grab him, except, dun, 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 Snowy wasn't on the bed. So I put the covers completely over my head and tucked myself in like a burrito. Yeah, that'll save me. And
the blankets are the most they're the most safest place to be.
I do that too. I do that all the time, where I will be like, oh, I'm scared. I heard something kind of strange. And then I'll like tuck my feet in, like, oh, I don't want them to eat my feet. Right. That's the most important thing, right? Not your heart or your brain or just your feet. Anyway, so she's tucked in like a burrito.
In this case.
Yeah, she did the whole head and everything. A few minutes go by and I drift back to sleep in her burrito state. And one of my legs must have slipped out of the burrito because I felt a hand grab my ankle and I shot straight out of bed and ran down the hallway to my sister. And I said, Kevin's here. He touched my ankle. He sat on my bed. And my sister just looked at me and said, you were sleeping. I thought you were in the kitchen making food. I heard the cabinet shutting. And then we just looked at each other like, and then we both left the house to go stay at my cousin's, and it was really creepy and eerie, and I will never forget that night. Yeah, it just sounds like Kevin's just being a trickster, but I feel really bad for that dog.
Her foot wasn't under the blanket, and he got it.
It's all like pictures, like Kevin just waiting as a spirit. That'd be me, honestly, if I was a ghost. This is interesting. This next haunted happening, somebody tagged me in it. This was going off of our last stream, which was about doppelgangers. Somebody sent this story to me. It's really interesting. It says double gangsters. It says in 1998, a 19-year-old young bride moved in with her husband to a new house in Seattle, Washington. The couple had just ended their honeymoon and everything was normal until the car pulled up to the front curb. As she walked towards the front door to her new house, she was astonished to see the image of herself coming down the front walk toward her. She was wearing a stylish black dress and crying, and it was undeniably herself. Not only did she recognize her own face, hair, and body, but there was a jolt of primal recognition when she saw the mirror image of herself. As the image approached her, it vanished, leaving her feeling unsettled and nervous. Years later, the same woman came home from a late-night party to find her husband and her best friend were having an affair. Distraught and crying, she turned around and walked out of the house, never to return. As she strode, I don't think that's a real word, strolled down the walk, she had a vivid flashback to the day that she had arrived as a hopeful bride and realized that she was wearing the same exact black dress that she had witnessed in her mirror image on that sunny afternoon. It was a disturbing phenomenon. So, yeah, I mean, we talked about doppelgangers last time and how seeing them is not a good thing. And so, I don't know. I don't know if this is a real story, if this is just something somebody thought was interesting and tagged me in. And I mean, it is interesting. It's just, you know, it's very strange. It seems
almost like a premonition, kind of like, like a good thing that she saw. I mean, maybe not a good thing that she saw it, but it seemed like foreshadowing,
Yeah, it was foreshadowing. Maybe she had spirit guides that tried to like send her an image in her head almost. That's kind of how I'm trying to like see this one, because when you see a doppelganger, it's never supposed to be a good. I mean, this wasn't a good thing. It kind of was, kind of was.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna move on to
that. Sorry, remember it said doppelgangers were sometimes like a shadow of a person that was doing the actions beforehand or after. So maybe it was kind of like shadowing something that was going to happen, Yeah,
that's an interesting comment. Okay. I see. I agree with that.
Okay.
Our last haunted happening for tonight is coming from Courtney M. I love that name, Courtney. Sounds very like 2000s rom-com, Courtney. So Courtney M said, "Hi, I've had several experiences. I grew up in 2 houses that had a lot of activity. One house had a fire in the stairway, trapping an elderly woman and killing her. Our dog would specifically walk around to avoid that stairwell. My parents would do seances at the table, and it would bounce for answers." So she means the table would bounce for answers.
Like 1 for yes, 2 for no?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she just means it was shaking.
Okay.
That's strange, but okay. I believe it. The other house was part of the Underground Railroad. There were secret rooms in the house where we found bones. This is really cool. There were 2 murders in the house. One was a father-in-law who shot and killed his son-in-law through a window because of his religious beliefs. That room was below my bedroom. Girl, I would not be staying in that bedroom.
So, what religion is that?
I don't know. Yeah, that's the religion where you have to kill your son-in-law. I think most father-in-laws feel that way, though. So they all follow that religion.
But if you claim religion now, can you...
I mean, hey, I don't know. But I would not be staying in that bedroom that was below a place where somebody got killed. That's, I don't know, creepy. I remember clearly seeing a short man in my doorway when I was young, and it faded away. People have also seen the image of a woman in my mirror. Mirrors, portals. That was part of the doppelgangers last time. In that same bedroom, this was happening. The house we live in now has been in my husband's family since 1884. We've had things happen inside that we are sure are family members trying to reach out to us. I've gotten some interesting pictures on the trail cameras. So Jim's going to pull up the pictures that she sent in. I picked 3. That she sent in a lot of cool photos. Maybe with her permission one day, I can post them to the Facebook page. But she sent in a lot a lot of cool photos. So that's the one that looks like an orb. And then as you go down, there's a figure. Now, I don't want to tell you immediately what the figure is. I'll give you a second for some imagination. Okay, now I'll tell you. I think it looks like either a woman wearing a robe or a cloak, or like just somebody wearing a big black ball gown almost, right? It definitely looks like a woman's figure. It's very curvy. And then she said that it just disappeared. And she says that she captures stuff like this all the time on those trails. This is the house with the Underground Railroad. So super historic and possibly super, super haunted grounds. Courtney, thank you for sending in all those photos. They're awesome. She even sent in articles from when I was talking about the father-in-law, the killing the brother-in-law. She even sent in like news articles with the house address and everything on it. Like super cool stuff.
She's thorough.
She is thorough. I'm going to get her permission she'll give it to me, of course. I'm not going to like force it. But I'll post them to the page if she'll allow it, because they're really cool. Dusti, any input?
No.
Great. Dusti, will you tell the viewers what our first story of the night is going to be?
Mothman!
And that is when we lost all of our viewers.
It's gonna be Mothman. If you've heard of him, great. He's awesome, right, Renee? I know that you have a certain.
I love Mothman. He's great. I think he's awesome.
Okay, well, if you look here, this is not a real life photo. Sorry to disappoint, but it is supposedly a gray humanoid type beast standing about 7 feet tall with a wingspan. He's got wings, so he can fly, with a wingspan of about 10 feet and really bright red eyes, with the ability to fly supposedly at incredible speeds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So, incredible speeds. So he's quite large. 7 feet.
That's rude, Dusti. Oh, okay.
He's tall. He's very tall. Tall and dark and handsome. Right?
Hey.
Yeah.
Tall drink of water, Mothman.
His first reported, he's said to be in the West Virginia area. So his first reported sighting was November 12th, 1966, near Clendenin, West Virginia.
Yeah, that's where they play the Finding Nemo meme where he's like, Clendenin, yeah,
Clendenin, West Virginia. Yeah. So some grave diggers were out working at a cemetery. I'm assuming they were digging graves. And they saw a huge figure moving across the cemetery from tree to tree, a huge grayish brown figure that was from the treetops really fast. Yeah, it was first reported sighting, and it was the first sighting. Now, the most famous one that we're going to hear about actually happened 3 days later. So 3 days later, the craze really got going. This is kind of how it spread a little bit. And it was around the TNT area. The TNT area it's an abandoned munitions area a little north of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. It dates back to World War II. And it's mostly just kind of foresty area, but there are also a lot of thick concrete domes called igloos. Yeah, they're called igloos, and they were used to store barrels of gunpowder. So there's also a bunch of those around there. It's by 1983, it was actually said that this site is one of the country's most polluted sites. So like toxic polluted,
this is Clendenin?
Point Pleasant. It's the abandoned World War II munitions area north of Point Pleasant.
So why are they calling it Point Pleasant if it's polluted? Why aren't they calling it Point Polluted?
So yeah, anyway. Anyway, 1966, we're back to 1966. And Roger and Linda Scarberry were with their friends, Steve and Mary Millett. Yeah. They were driving around this TNT area close to around midnight. And all of a sudden, Linda screamed she noticed these two red eyes staring, at them. And so she screamed, and everybody else looked, and they realized that these eyes were actually attached to this huge figure that was standing in front of their car. So of course Roger stopped the car, and they just kind of stared at it for a minute. They just examined it for a minute, looking at it, gawking at it. I'm sure we would all kind of do the same thing.
No, girl, we would all not. I would be out. I would be like, bye, Mothman, and I would run. I would not be standing there like, oh, look at that. Would you look at that? That would not happen.
What a really tall bird.
She's golly, Linda. Would you look at that giant glowing demon bird? No.
Big bird? Is that your doppelganger? Your evil twin?
Double gangsters.
Anyway, sorry. So, yeah, they were just examining the creature for a minute, and then supposedly the creature spread its wings and began to chase them down Highway 62. Yeah, 62. Toward the city limits. And then this is where the speeds come in. Apparently, it was exceeding 100 miles per hour. Like they ran, it was chasing them.
It's a fast bird.
All right. Well, that's a fast bird. They made it to the city limits. They made it to the town, and they didn't see the creature that was chasing them anymore. So they stopped, and they kind of sat there to regroup and then discuss what the heck just happened. They wanted to, I'm sure you would probably do that too. You may not have stopped.
And I would cry.
You wouldn't have stopped to introduce yourself, but you would have asked what later,
I would have just been like curled up in a ball screaming. That would have been it.
Well, yeah, they concluded that it was actually just a large bird, a large strange bird. They were like, you know what, maybe
you all have epilepsy.
Or maybe we're all epileptic.
Yeah.
We're all crazy.
They go to.
It was just a large bird. So do you remember the last time when I said, if you're in your I said just that, exactly that. If you're in a house, right, with something scary, you go out the door, not up the stairs, right? Yeah. Well,
Linda.
They drove back. They drove back to the TNT area to check it out. And they saw the creature again. The creature was waiting off on the side of Route 62 there, just waiting. And they then declared that it was not a large bird. Definitely not a large bird, right? And but when the headlights shone on the creature, it supposedly shot upwards at an incredible speed and disappeared above the tree line. And that was the last encounter they had there. But they went and told the sheriff, and the city police ended up doing an investigation.
Good.
And they found nothing. They didn't find anything, of course. Right. But the next day there was a press conference that was held, and that was when they decided to print the story locally. So the story did go out in papers. And it's funny, the first headline that kind of gave Mothman his fame is kind of funny. It's couples see man-sized bird creature something. That's what it is.
Man-sized bird creature something. It's like, whenever you like hear about those famous reporters where they'll be like, yes, this man that's killing hundreds of people in the streets of London or whatnot, he's killing all women. His name is the dreaded Jack the Ripper, and then that like sticks forever. This guy was just like a man bird thing, something
creature thing. man bird creature something.
Linda's just like sitting in her like living room drinking coffee, like, no, they should have called him Mothman.
Mothman. Man bird creature something. Anyway, that's gonna be the new. Anyway, Linda was actually rushed to the hospital the day after they saw a man bird creature something, due to a nervous breakdown. So apparently, if you see a large man's bird creature something, psychological issues follow soon after.
Naturally, I would assume.
I mean, I can only imagine. So she was rushed to the hospital, and since then there was over 100 sightings within the following 13 months.
Wow. Over 100 sightings?
Over 100 just within the next year. Some
from different people?
What? Yeah.
From all different people?
Mm-hmm.
So the town believed these people.
I guess so, yeah. I mean,
wow.
I guess even two firemen supposedly saw a large creature. Yeah. There were actually witnesses that said they claimed that, get this, the Men in Black.
I hate
Right.
this.
Yeah, I'm not talking Will Smith or anything, but the Men in Black, like the real deal Men in Black, visited them, harassed them because they wanted them to stay silent. So then that raised questions on whether it was kind of related to like aliens or UFOs or something. I don't know about all that.
We'll have to do a story time on Men in Black one time because there's so much into it. I'm just so scared to talk about them. Like I'm even like looking over my shoulder now because I'm sitting in a completely dark living room and I'm terrified to even mention
I'm outside.
them.
They're gonna get me first.
Well, girl, we are nobodies. We have no connection. We don't want to be attacked by the Men in Black. This is just two little girls talking out their rear ends. So please don't come and arrest us and take us to alien jail. Anyway.
Wow, so we know how you're gonna be in situation of dire.
Yes, he'll be like, take my friend!
Desperation. You know what? You're right. There was there. I saw this, everything I know. Well, anyway, there was also, this is an interesting little bit. One guy in, I think, Salem, West Virginia. Newell Partridge. His name is Newell Partridge, and he apparently saw strange patterns on his TV before hearing a weird mytherical noise outside. And he supposedly took a flashlight and he shone his flashlight in the direction of the noise, and there was just two red eyes staring at him. And it gets better. Supposedly his dog disappeared after that. So not only can Mothman fly and go really fast, he eats dogs.
That's messed up.
Not the dog. Okay, so some people think that, because rumors spread after giant flying beasts appear, and some people think he's a harbinger of doom. So that, okay, they actually they connect him with the collapse of the 1967, the Silver Bridge that collapsed, the Silver Bridge.
That's the most popular, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, apparently he was sighted before the collapse, so he was associated with that. And and then they even try to connect him to other tragedies around the world, and by saying that creatures that were similar to him, maybe not him, but similar to him, were sighted before major disasters. Like, it was the mine collapse in Germany.
Yeah.
The Chernobyl meltdown. Chernobyl, right?
Yeah, Chernobyl.
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
I don't know. Chernobyl, and even the even 9/11. But also, in this sense, there are the other people who think that maybe he was trying to warn of this disaster.
Sure. Okay. I don't believe that. No.
No.
Nope. I think that
he eats dogs, right?
Yeah, he ate somebody's dog. And you know what? I actually remember reading a story on Mothman where he tried to take somebody's baby too, and like she talked about it like on the local news. Like he tried to take her newborn baby, and she fought him off. Maybe and like the town believed her. But here's the thing, because most of the time when you hear these stories of like alien sightings, people are just like, all right, Linda, go take your crazy pills and go take a nappy pie, and then like that's it, right? But the whole town like got together with these people, and they all agreed that there was something strange going on in the small city of Point Pleasant. It's like creepy. Everybody believed the baby lady and the dog guy.
The baby lady. Maybe he was just lonely. Maybe he raised the dog. He didn't eat the dog. You don't know that. He probably just wanted a friend and a baby.
Tasty, tasty friend. Anyway.
Well, okay. So now, of course, you do have everybody's. There's always some skeptical scientist or people that want to try to give it an explanation. So we have to throw that in there.
Sure.
The one explanation that was offered is that it's actually a sandhill crane.
That flies at 100 miles per hour. Great.
Of course. Yeah. And I mean, a sandhill crane, and then like
he's also epileptic.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, if you're epileptic and you're staring at a crane, maybe Mothman? No, but possibly deformed by the toxic leaks from the World War II bunkers. Sorry,
You're fine.
So apparently just a big, ugly bird. And now they say sandhill cranes can be 4.5 to 5 feet tall.
Okay, I buy
they are
that.
a grayish brown color. Yeah, a grayish brown color. And they do have red fleshy bits around their eyes. So this is what they're getting at, that it's just a crane chasing cars and eating dogs.
Here's my problem with that. It's a really big crane, yeah, but also it has to fly at speeds over 100 miles per hour and seemingly vanish into thin air and be able to jump through your computer, or not your computer, through your TV. Also, it eats animals, dogs, babies, whatever. And people haven't noticed it before around town. They've just kind of been like, and they don't know what a crane looks like. Listen, I'm from Jersey, y'all, and I've seen some crazy stuff. I literally remember we had to stay in school for 2 hours one time because what is it called? A mountain lion. A mountain lion was by the dumpster and that we couldn't leave the school. Nobody was screaming, "Oh, lion man!" Like that wasn't happening. You know what I mean? Where like lion people, man. I'd like to think that people have some common sense, and that Linda Scarsberry and whoever else, the rest of them, they even thought it was a bird at first. They checked. They went back and checked. Unless they were smoking hallucinogenics, which they weren't. That was reported that they were not. So...
Okay, I want to say that I'm a firm believer that you cannot say I'm from Jersey and y'all in the same sentence. But I agree. I very much agree with you.
That's a valid point.
Yeah. Right? Shouldn't it be a stork that steals the baby and gives
No, the stork brings the baby.
Oh, right. Maybe the crane takes the baby.
That's literally people just being like, oh, we don't have an explanation for it, but we don't want to just be like, oh, it's paranormal. So we're going to say it's a giant crane because we don't want to let the paranormal people win. Like,
it's funny that you commented on all of them just believing. And it's funny because the town actually celebrates Mothman now.
Yeah.
They celebrate it. There's an annual Mothman festival every third week of every third September of the year.
Okay.
Every third weekend of September is Mothman festival.
Love it.
Yeah, and there is even in the town a Mothman museum. And outside the museum is the museum actually, it has cool things like documents from right?
Ironically, Jim, that you say that they did build a statue.
They did build a statue. Yeah. There's documents from the eyewitnesses, press clippings, and a statue outside of the museum, a big chrome statue of Mothman. And they even have Mothcam. If you go to mothmanmuseum.com, there's a Mothcam, and it's like a 24-hour camera that just live camera just points at the statue, so you can just see tourists go say hi to Mothman. There's a book too. Actually, there was a book written by John Keel, and they made it into a movie in 2002 starring Richard Gere. Yeah.
I love me some Richard Gere.
Yeah, Chicago, anybody? Yeah, but in 2002, it's called Mothman Prophecies.
Okay.
So I guess he's not stealing babies Mothman anymore.
No, he's a celeb now. He's a celebrity. They have a Mothman pizza.
It's so God, you were telling me that.
I want to.
So we're gonna have all of these adventures when the world opens back up, right? We're gonna get Mothman pizza. Yes. We're gonna go to Elizabeth Bathroom's castle.
Elizabeth Bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was Mothman, y'all. Dusti, any last words? Any final words?
No.
No, you've rested your case. All right. Well, we're going to move on to the strange death of Elisa Lam. I am terrified right now. It is so dark in this room, and I don't like the video that's involved with this story, but we'll get there in just a few, so hang tight on that thought.
Is there something behind you?
Shut up. There is. Sorry. It's my cat. It's the Men in Black.
Don't say that.
So, I know. I was like, I said it, and then I was like, oh, girl, that's not funny.
They're probably mad that we told everybody about them.
We didn't technically, we found all that information on the internet, so you can go, Men in Black can go hunt down whoever posted that information. That's where my case is. I was not involved. I'm story time. Anyway,
all right.
Elisa Lam was born in April of 1991. to immigrant parents from Hong Kong. So she was of Asian descent. Of course, she was Chinese. She and her family owned a restaurant in Canada. She was a student in Canada. She went to a university in Canada. And she decided in 2013 that she wants to go on a trip to California, and she goes by herself. So she takes the Amtrak to travel from Canada to California, and she spends time in San Diego, and she takes pictures of it. She's super excited to be there. She posts about it on her social media. And then just a week later, just about a week later, she ends up having a bizarre and very untimely death, of course, because she's only 21 when she passes away. Now, before we get to that, January 26th, we know that she arrives in Los Angeles, and we know that she stays at the Cecil Hotel. So she's in Los Angeles on the 26th, but she doesn't actually check into the Cecil Hotel until January 28th, which is going to be important later. So keep that kind of in your cranium. Anyway, Lamb at first had agreed to a hostel style arrangement, meaning she was going to have like a shared room. And she had several roommates, like 3-4 roommates, something like that. Her roommates, just after 2 days, end up complaining to the front desk about unusual behavior from Lamb. So this behavior was enough to get her kicked out of the hostel room and put into a room of her own. And this is
at the Cecil, right?
This is at the Cecil. Things take a turn for the worse after she gets the room of her own. Now, the whole time this is happening, she's still making contact with her parents. Her parents can hear that she's happy, that she's having a really great time. And then they don't hear from her the day that she's supposed to return home. And a day goes by, and they haven't heard that she's gotten on her Amtrak. And they called LAPD and put in a missing persons report, as it was unusual for Elisa to do that. So the LAPD, they go ahead and they talk to hotel staff. Meanwhile, her family takes a plane and they fly out to Los Angeles to help look for her. The hotel staff claimed that Elisa was friendly, that she was normal. But the day that she was supposed to check out, they only saw her in the morning, and she was completely by herself. She had talked about going to a bookstore. So she goes to that bookstore. The LAPD follow this trail. They go to the bookstore, and they talk to the clerk that sold her books. And the clerk said that she was buying the books for her family, that they were going to take these gifts, back to Canada and give them to all her friends and her family. And she couldn't wait to see them and tell them about her adventures. So it was clear something was wrong. There was some sort of foul play or something involved, because Elisa had clear intentions of going home. She didn't just run away. Now, after hearing this information, becomes kind of like a crunch of the clock. They need to find out where she is very quickly, because she could be in danger. And the LAPD has search dogs. Yesterday I said surf dogs, and I can't get it out of my mind now. They didn't have surf dogs. They had search dogs.
They should have had surf dogs.
Did you like how I enunciated though this time? I was like, search
dogs.
Search dogs. Although Facebook captions will say surf dogs.
Surf dogs.
The LAPD had search dogs sniff around Elisa's room, the halls of the hotel, and the rooftop, but nothing came of it. They did not pick up her scent. However, on February 15th, the LAPD released a surveillance footage from the elevator of what would
she didn't check out of her room, so you assume that her suitcase and everything is still there, and they couldn't find.
Nope. I think they found, I never read that they found her suitcase. That's a good point. We'll get to that. There's a bunch of issues with this that I'll touch upon. So this surveillance footage that Jim is going to pull up is very bizarre, and it may not be suitable for all audiences. It just gets super creepy, and so just viewer discretion advised. This is the last known sighting of Elisa Lamb. I hate this video so much, and after the video plays, I want to talk to you guys about why this is so strange. So take a good look. So clearly, and watch. She is going to pop. She's popping her head out to look for someone, presumably. And now she's hiding. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I hate it so much. And her face is glitching, which is so weird. The rest of her body isn't glitching, but her face is glitched. Nope, I hate it. It's so weird.
The way she's like jumping to see, kind of like ripping the band-aid off. She looks nervous.
She does look nervous. And now she's standing there. It's like, there's no audio to this, so we don't know what she's saying. Like, the real footage has no audio because it's just from the elevator. But it looks like she's talking to someone. Right? Why isn't the door closing? I hate this so much. It's not the part yet. I always think it is, but it's not.
She's been standing out there for a while. That door hasn't closed yet.
And it hasn't closed. Okay, here she... Ooh, I hate it. Okay. She's going back in. She seems alarmed, concerned. Now she's trying to touch all the buttons.
It's not trying. She is.
She is. It looks like to me that she's trying to get the door to close here.
It's not closing.
And it's just not closing. I'm going to look away because I hate this part. Watch her hands. People that are watching, watch how weird her hand movements are. I'm looking away. I can't watch this part. It, like, gives me the chills. Dusty, tell me when it's over.
Yeah, it's over.
No, it's not.
I know.
But it looks like she's talking to someone, and it looks like she's nervous talking to whoever she's talking to.
It's a heated discussion. All right, there she goes.
And that was the last time she was ever seen. So, I hate it. I mean, I know I've said it 1,000 times. It's just the worst. There's just a few strange things with the video, obviously. Her hand movements, which are straight nightmare fuel right there. Her hands just, like, it seems unnatural to me what's happening with her hands, one. And also, what you mentioned, the fact that the elevator door does not close the entire time is bothersome. Also, many people that watched the footage agreed that it was strange that only her face was glitched out. They mentioned things that I just mentioned, the door, the hands, that sort of stuff. And there were many different theories that started to circulate online, including the most obvious one, which was kind of publicly known, was that Elisa had bipolar disorder. So they thought that this little thing that she was doing in the elevator was a psychotic episode that she was having. However, in her toxology report, when they eventually do find her body, we'll get there, there's proof that she was taking her medication. She was taking medication for epilepsy, too, by the way. But she didn't have epilepsy. I always find that they give epilepsy medication to people that don't even have epilepsy. But she's even taking that. She only missed one medication that day, and I think it's presumably because she wasn't alive to take that medication at the end of the night. Anywho, others thought that perhaps this was a demonic possession that we were catching on film, and it is said that people with weaker mental health states can be more susceptible to demonic possession. I've heard that that's true. That was the case with Annalise Michel from a couple episodes ago. People believe that was kind of the reason too. The people, this is gross. The people at the Cecil Hotel began to experience low water pressure and even black, foul-smelling water coming from their taps. So the hotel decided, all right, we got to go and see what's going on with the water towers. Something must be tainting our water. They drain the water towers, and that is when they find the naked, decomposed, green body of Elisa Lam locked inside of the tower.
Oh, they brushed their teeth with that water.
Even worse, there was a coffee shop that was connected to the water towers.
Oh,
making coffee.
I like coffee. Don't ruin the coffee.
It's ruined. Don't have coffee in Skid Row in Los Angeles. That's my advice.
It's ruined.
There were logical explanations for how she got up to the towers, but no logical explanation for how she actually got locked inside, like how she closed it. Because the towers, yes, they had alarms. Yes, they had doors that you were only allowed to have key passes to, or like whatever codes. There was a fire escape that made it very easily accessible to get to the roof. And also there was footage of the water tower doors not always being shut. So it made sense how she got in there. However, Elisa Lam weighed like 115 pounds. How did she close a door that weighed, I don't know, 80, 90 pounds, unless she was like the Incredible Hulk, she was doing some CrossFit or something. How did she take off all of her clothes? One, why did she do that? And
did they find her clothes?
They found her clothes. Thank you for asking that. They found her clothes. They found her hotel card keys. They found pretty much everything floating in there with her, but they did not find her cell phone. And still to this very day, they have not found her cell phone. They don't know what happened to it. So there was also evidence that her rectum was bleeding, and they never did any sort of investigation on that. They just said because she was decomposed, that made sense. So they didn't look into that at all. Her Tumblr account was also updated after her death. People said presumably by the Q option that Tumblr offers. However, again, her phone wasn't found, so who knows? Yeah. The Cecil Hotel is notably haunted. It's very, very haunted. And it has been the setting for many terrible crimes that are unsolved. It's said that the Cecil Hotel is one of the last places that the Black Dahlia was seen. It's the murder site of Goldie Osgood, who was killed there in 1964. That case was never solved. Jack Unterweger and Richard Ramirez, the Night Slayer, I think he was called, they both stayed there and were actively killing people while they stayed at the hotel.
She's like American Horror Story. Anybody?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. It's funny that you say that because Ryan Murphy, I think his name is, the director of American Horror Story, he based the 5th season hotel off of the Cecil, but he was mostly intrigued by Elisa Lam's case. So it's funny that you say that. Ghost sightings are seen all over the hotel. Investigators have heard Elisa's voice come through the spirit box or the PSB7 box, if you're familiar with it. They've heard voices come through as saying they're Elisa. One investigator had his spirit box say, I am Elisa. And when he asked what happened to her, the spirit box responded with bad things and bad people. A medium, this is so interesting. This freaked me out as I was looking this up last night. A medium, Sloan Bella, claimed to channel Elisa and said that Elisa was sensitive to spirits, which is why she went to the Cecil Hotel anyway. Remember how I said she got there on the 26th but didn't stay at the Cecil till the 28th? And Cecil's in like a really messed up area. It's in Skid Row. It's like a homeless camp. It's really messed up in that area. It's an area where heroin, cocaine dealers, that's where they all get their supply pretty much. But she went there to stay at the haunted Cecil Hotel because she thought she was sensitive to spirits. And while she was there, she came into contact with young men. And there was one particular man under the age of 30 that was super handsome and tried flirting with her and may have targeted her and eventually been responsible for her bizarre death. Sloan also claimed that the elevator footage was selected on purpose to make her look psychotic, which is why it's been tampered with and her face is all glitched. This is all speculation. This is what Sloan is saying she's hearing from Elisa's spirit. She says that the reason the LAPD covered this up is because the man that may have been responsible for her death was somebody important's child, and therefore they had to protect whoever was in power and the child and the connection. They had to keep it covered up. And so they blamed it on her bipolar disorder, even though there was proof that it really wasn't. And there was witnesses that said she was completely normal. Unfortunately, Elisa was only 21 years old when she died, and the LAPD has since closed her case. Really sad. Tragic. Final last words, Dusty?
Yeah, do you think they charged her fees for not checking out on time?
Probably. I mean, it's the Cecil. They didn't even really care about the case. At first, they didn't really want to bother. Like, the LAPD came in and started asking questions. They were like, no, we don't really want to go there. And they were like, no, but you don't understand. We can't find this girl. And she stayed here. And they were like, well, she didn't check out. Like, I don't know. So it was really strange. They dealt with it strange. I don't know if the LAPD just said stuff to make it sound like the Cecil wasn't cooperating or what the deal was. It just got super strange, all of the evidence. And there's a lot of stuff that, the cell phone thing, when they kept asking the sheriff about the cell phone, he would not talk about it. there's video footage of it on YouTube where they'll be like, hey, can you talk more about her cell phone? What happened to Elisa's cell phone? And he'll say, I really don't want to get into that right now, but we're taking care of it. And then they just close the case. It wouldn't be the first time the LAPD has been accused of covering up a crime scene or a case.
So you think she had something with the rich boy?
I think that the rich boy had something with her, and that I don't know what happened, but he accidentally murdered her or poisoned her or something, and then he didn't know what to do with her body, so he put it in the water tower.
Accidentally murdered her.
But think about it, because the dogs, they were up there. They didn't smell her body. It's just a really strange scenario. Something's not right, and I hope that we hear more about the story. I hope Elisa's spirit gets to tell us more about what happened to her too.
Yeah.
Now,
I will say really quick that if I was sensitive to spirits, I feel like going on vacation, I maybe would not want to spend my time at a haunted hotel.
Valid. That's like working. You're right. It's like giving yourself some more work. A working vacation. We're going to move on to our last story of the night. And to do that, we're going to bring on a special guest. Drum roll,
Can you guess
please.
who?
Hey, everybody.
Oh, wrong way.
How is everyone? Good evening.
Good evening.
Our fans know that we always try to bring one local story to our show every week. And this week, we're going to talk about a story entrenched deep in what is known as the Menorcan Quarter. That area of St. Augustine, it was settled by the indentured servants who ran away from New Smyrna into that north part of St. Augustine. We're going to talk about a restaurant that's open today that's very popular, the Prince of Wales restaurant, right on Kuna Street between St. George and Spanish. The house is very simple. It's a 2-story house. It's got a set of stairs that goes up one side of it. The guests at the restaurant have talked about going up and down the stairs and suddenly feeling a slight push, a little assistance, if you would. Maybe not too bad if you're going up. Maybe not too good if you're going down.
Yeah, that's a problem.
What most people don't know is that building belonged to a woman notorious up and down St. George Street and in the St. Augustine community who was known simply as Faye. Faye worked at the St. George Pharmacy. And at that time, the St. George Pharmacy had a breakfast counter. Faye was the head cook there. But it was a strange restaurant. You see, you didn't go in and order what you wanted for breakfast. If you knew who Faye was, she fixed what she felt like fixing, and you better be glad you got that. And if you didn't like that, you could just go on down the street.
I like her. Okay.
Later on, it would become a 7-Eleven. But
sounds about the same.
I dig it. I like Faye. All right.
Yeah, she's a very very one-way lady.
It's a character.
Faye worked at the St. George Pharmacy for probably 40 years. And when she finally retired, she moved back to her house, or didn't move back. She stayed at her house most of the time, very seldom traveled anywhere. The only known relative she ever had was a sister in Jacksonville. She would write letters to her sister, and occasionally the letters would come back. But Faye had nothing better to do than to aggravate the postman every single day. He would show up. She'd go, "Where's the letter from my sister?" He goes, "Sorry, Miss Faye, we don't have a letter for you today." And she would go, "You no good son of a gun postman. You're no good at your job. My sister writes me every day. You just didn't feel like stopping by here today." And she would berate him forever. She actually, in 5 years, had gone through like 8 postmen.
I would tear up her mail.
Job. Didn't want to put up with
probably did.
The sad thing is, Miss Faye all of a sudden quit showing up on the front porch. The postman came by the first day. He went, "Woo, Miss Faye's not here. It's a good day for me. Not too bad." Puts the letters in her mail drop that were in her door at that time, and on his happy way he went. He comes by the next day, opens a slot in the door, slides the mail in again. Still no Miss Faye. He's having a really good week at this point.
Yeah, I bet.
But come Thursday, there's still no one that has answered the door. No, Faye has not met him at all week long. And now he's starting to get concerned because she'd never been missing for 4 days before. She'd never disappeared. He started to ask the neighbors around because he was a walking mailman. He knew everybody in the neighborhood. Is Faye in the hospital? Has anybody seen her? Has she gone on vacation? And no one had seen Faye. Friday, still no Faye. But when he came back Monday and he opened the slot on the mail door, he knew exactly where Miss Faye was.
Oh, no.
The smell permeated the entire house. They called the city police. They came over and they investigated, and sure enough, here's Miss Faye, crumpled, lifeless, at the bottom of her stairs where she'd been in that house in the middle of summer with no air conditioning for now what they think of being over a week.
Wow. Gross.
Really, really bad. But here's the other thing that happened. Just about 2 weeks before this happened, Faye's staircase had needed some work, and she hired a local carpenter to come work on it. That carpenter made the repairs to that staircase, and then Faye began to criticize his work. This was a man known throughout town about how good he was in everything that he did, but nothing could make Faye happy, and she refused to pay him. And she looked at him.
Her, Renee?
He looked at her and warned her. He said, Miss Faye, you will pay me. I do my work and I do it right. You will pay me one way or another. No one knows if the carpenter ever received his money, and no one was ever prosecuted. No one knows how Faye fell down the staircase.
Oh, I know.
Maybe it was karma.
Maybe
The
maybe that
unpaid
carpenter,
banana peel joke, right?
Maybe that carpenter loosened a few screws on the railing.
A few screws.
The cool thing about Kuna Street is that it's kind of dark, it's quaint, it's out of the way, and it's a great spot to take photographs because the building is lit from the inside. And whenever we do tours there, we always encourage our people, as you guys know, take lots of pictures because there's no telling what you're going to capture.
Right.
The picture I'm going to show next is one of my favorite pictures in over 8 years of doing tours that I've ever watched happen. Right up the street from Faye's house. We started off, and I watched a young man step back from the crowd, snap a photograph, and when the flash went off, I saw him look at his phone screen, and his jaw dropped. I watched it happen. And I stopped him, and I said, "What did you catch?" And he turned his phone, and he showed me this photograph.
Look at this photograph. I had to.
No.
You will notice there are two young women that are walking toward Faye's house by chance, but at the back, there's a smaller person with them, a person that you can see through. Looks like she's wearing maybe Victorian style garb, a long skirt all the way to her shoes. She even appears to be carrying flowers in a parasol. The very strange part of this entire ordeal, ladies and gentlemen, we had no kids on our tour that night. I had no juveniles, no kids at all, no midgets, no nothing on that tour. And when that guy handed me that photograph and showed it to me on his cell phone, I said immediately, send it right to me. And the only thing that has been done to that photograph is I have lightened it to make it a little brighter than it was originally.
Okay.
Why we tell people when you're on a ghost tour, take photographs, because the odds of catching a full body apparition as we appear or think that we've caught right here are few and far in between. And that's why a walking ghost tour offers so much more than a ride or other things that you go on to. You're just not going to get that anyplace else. And they have the ability to go where other people can't go. You can't even get there.
Now, let me ask you this. That's not Faye. That's not a picture of Faye, obviously, because Faye was
that is not a picture of Faye. Faye was not a little girl.
Now,
often we do get photos, though, of the house, and it looks like there's people in the window, but it's hard to tell because that house has lace curtains. And anytime you've got lace curtains, especially open lace, that are backlit like that, it can lead to some strange things that show up in photographs, and it's hard to prove that, yes, that really is a face looking out.
So Kuna Street, would you agree, is a place of a multitude of hauntings? It's like a hot spot for hauntings. Would you call it that?
It's done very, very well. It's also at the other corner is the carriage house. And the carriage house has plenty. As a bed and breakfast, has plenty of stories of its own. Not 100 feet down Cordova Street from that is Casa de Sueños, the House of Dreams. We all know the stories from there.
I was going to say, we might have to do Casa de Sueños one time as our local story, because that does have a lot to it.
That is a cool place.
It sure is.
That's the cool thing about living in St. Augustine. People forget, we've been killing people here and writing about it longer than anybody else.
Yep, that's
it's no wonder we're the second most haunted city in America.
Us three out there killing all these people nuts. Terrible joke. Anyway.
Listen, my school's Flagler's radio station, and the film, not the building, is on Kuna Street, and I've been there late at night. That's not nice. I don't.
Yeah,
not that I ever noticed, but
wow.
But
the ground the media center is built on has a story all to its own as well.
I don't have to spend late nights there anymore, so I don't mind hearing.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed our banter, our show. If you did, be sure to give us a giant thumbs up so that you can watch us all the time, and share the videos so that your friends can also watch us. And tune in again on Tuesday at 8 p.m. where we're going to be talking about some more ghoulish stories. Thank you for your time, and goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.